Let me start with something uncomfortable. Most people think Gen X is just careful with money, slow, conservative, maybe even outdated. But that's not what's actually happening. What you're really seeing is a survival strategy, built quietly over decades by people who learned one simple rule early on. Money can disappear fast, and that changes everything. If you really want to understand how Gen X thinks about money, you don't start with investing. You start with fear. Not loud fear, quiet fear. The kind that sits in the background and shapes every decision. Without asking, Gen X grew up in a very specific window of time. Not too early, not too late, but right in the middle of economic shifts, where stability started to break. They saw jobs vanish, they saw companies fail, they saw people who did everything right still struggle. So they didn't grow up believing money grows easily, they grew up believing it can go away. And once that idea gets into your head, it doesn't really leave. Now compare that to today. Money moves fast. Apps make investing easy. Information is everywhere. You can buy stocks in seconds. You can track your net worth in real time. It feels like control. But Gen X doesn't fully trust that feeling because they've seen what happens when systems break. So instead of asking, how fast can I grow this, they ask, how much can I protect? That's the hidden shift. Growth versus protection. And suddenly, their behavior starts to make sense. They save first, not later. First. They keep backup money even when it feels unnecessary. They don't rush into trends. They watch. They wait. They think. Not because they're slow, but because they've seen speed go wrong. Let's make this real. Imagine someone from Gen X gets extra money. A bonus, a side income, anything. What do? They don't rush to invest everything. They pause, they divide it. Some goes to savings, some might go to investment, and some just stays untouched from the outside. It looks cautious, maybe even inefficient, but under the surface, it's control. Now here's where things get interesting, because this mindset creates a strange outcome. It grows slower, but it breaks less. And that's something most people don't think about. We talk a lot about returns, but we don't talk enough about survival, because wealth is not just about how much you make, it's about how much you keep, and Gen X focuses heavily on keeping. Now let's talk about risk, because this is where the difference becomes very clear. Gen X does take risks, but they don't chase them. They approach them carefully, almost like testing water. Before stepping in, there's a kind of quiet skepticism in their thinking. If something looks too good, they slow down, not speed up. That alone changes outcomes over time. Now think about how this plays out in real life. Markets go up, people get excited, they invest quickly, they expect fast results. Gen X, they move slower. They don't fully trust the excitement. They've seen what comes after. And sometimes that hesitation protects them. Other times it makes them miss opportunities. And that's the trade-off. Because this mindset is not perfect. It has strengths, but it also has limits. It protects against loss, but it can also limit growth. And this is where the real tension lives: speed versus stability. Now let's bring in something most people ignore. Time. Time changes everything. If you move fast, you might grow quicker, but you're also exposed to more shocks. If you move slowly, you might grow less at first, but you're more stable. Gen X leans towards stability and over long periods. That stability compounds quietly without attention. This is why their wealth often looks boring. No big spikes, no dramatic wins, just steady progress. And in many cases, that's enough. Now here's the ironic part. The world today rewards speed. Fast decisions, fast moves, fast growth. But the systems underneath are still fragile. And Gen X never forgot that. So while others chase momentum, they focus on durability. And durability is hard to notice in the short term, but very powerful in the long term. Now zoom out for a second, because this isn't just about one generation, It's about how environments shape behavior. If you grow up in stability, you take more risks. If you grow up in uncertainty, you protect more. Neither is wrong, but they lead to very different outcomes. And today, we're watching these mindsets collide. Fast investors versus careful ones. Growth thinking versus protection thinking, and somewhere in the middle is probably the answer. But here's the uncomfortable question. What happens when the system is tested again? When markets slow down? When uncertainty returns? When things don't go as planned? Which mindset holds up better? The one built for speed or the one built for survival? There's no easy answer. But Gen X already made their choice a long time ago. And whether it looks slow or not, it was never about being fast. It was about still being standing when everything else isn't. And that's a very different way to think about money. Maybe even a smarter one, or maybe just a safer one. You decide.